Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Detroit Lions predicted to make surprising quarterback move. The Detroit Lions wrapped up their final preseason game of the 2024-25 season by beating the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday, August 24, in a 24-17 victory. Now, the powers that be will have to decide on their 53-man roster, and that roster is already tight. Ahead of the final preseason game, head coach Dan Campbell said there were only 5 or 6 spots still available on the team's final roster, so there's stiff competition to snag those final placements. Now, NFL experts and analysts are coming out with their predictions for the 53-man roster, and one writer has a wild projection for what Campbell and Brad Holmes will do to fill their final backup quarterback slots. In his final Detroit Lions 53-man roster projection heading into 2024 regular season, published August 24, Brad Behrman of CDLeonReport.com discusses who he thinks will, and won't, make the cut. For the 3 quarterback spots, Behrman picked Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker and a quarterback to be named. While some analysts and experts took Nate Sudfeld not playing in the final preseason game as a sign that he would be the main backup quarterback to Goff, Behrman has a different take. Instead, he thinks Detroit is going to look elsewhere for their third quarterback. Campbell has said Nate Sudfeld has a leg up on Hooker in the battle for the number 2 spot on the depth chart here, which isn't an ideal scenario the Lions should be embracing under any circumstance, Behrman said. Sudfeld also didn't play against the Steelers, prompting Golden Tate, the former Lions wide receiver working the Detroit telecast as an analyst, to assume he must be the number 2 quarterback. Behrman added that he's being bold and going outside the box by suggesting a more credible, experienced backup will be brought in. Then, Sudfeld can officially start looking at whatever his next job will be. It shouldn't be taking up a spot anywhere on an NFL roster anymore. We've seen the Lions make late changes to their depth chart behind Goff before, and they should be open to doing it again if they don't have full faith in Hooker yet. While Behrman thinks Sudfeld's time in Detroit may be over, other NFL analysis and writers think he's going to be the guy right behind Goff. Nate Sudfeld not appearing against the Steelers all but solidified his spot on the roster as the team's backup quarterback behind veteran Jared Goff, John Macaron of Sports Illustrated wrote in an August 24 feature. Cabley thinks Steelers are going shopping after cutdowns. Tuesday is the Pittsburgh Steelers' deadline to trim their roster down to 53 men. But it's not the deadline to stop constructing the roster. With over 1,100 players flooding the free agent market, the Steelers could search for depth and upgrades to the end of their roster. Steelers beat writer Mark Kaboly expects GM Omar Khan to be a busy man the rest of the week. Tweeting his thoughts Sunday, Kaboly said he thinks the Steelers will go shopping after cutdowns. It would track with what Khan's done his first 2 years post-cutdown. In 2022, he made 2 trades at the deadline, acquiring OG Jesse Davis and OLB Malik Reed. Neither player had an impact and Reed proved to be an unwise trade, undersized and weak against the run as the team scrambled to replace TJ Watt after Week 1, but they were tweaks to try and upgrade the roster simultaneous to cutdowns. Last season was less active in terms of adding pieces. Khan traded 2 players away in OG Kevin Dotson and C/G Kendrick Green but also signed CB Desmond King 48 hours after cutdowns. He, like Reed, wasn't who the team hoped for and was sent back into free agency waters in mid-October. Moves at or following cutdowns were common under Kevin Colbert. A yearly example of players put in the grocery cart prior to Week 1. Of course, that list is a reminder that sometimes the items on the shelves are expired. King and Reed weren't successful additions. Witherspoon became a key piece down the stretch in 2021 before becoming fool's gold the following year. Dobbs threw 5 passes in 2020, Davis was only a special teamer, and Colquitt was cut before Halloween. Hayden was the biggest and best addition. Fast forward to 2024. Where could Pittsburgh use help? The secondary seems likely to receive at least one upgrade, if not more. Cornerback depth is weak on the outside and in the slot, and there's even an argument to be made for a fifth safety. Pittsburgh could have their eye on wide receiver while Brandon Aiyuk's situation looms. Adding a stronger backup center than Ryan McCollum is plausible, and I've made the case for the team to add a pure special teamer, someone like ex-Steeler W.R. Miles Boykin or Philadelphia Eagles CB Zech McPherson. Sadly, my suggestion of Houston Texans' Brandon Hill is no more. It's difficult to believe the Steelers' roster that takes flight to Atlanta will consist of the same group of guys in the building right now. Pittsburgh has strength at many positions: running back, tight end, defensive line, and inside linebacker, but there are several spots worth addressing. Steelers called upon to claim 6'3" WR that's expected to be cut. The Pittsburgh Steelers could be shopping on the waiver wire at multiple positions after the NFL's 53-man roster cut down on August 27. And one area of need might be a wide receiver that can also play punt return gunner on special teams. This is a role that veteran Miles Boykin flourished in with the Steelers in 2023. Unfortunately, Boykin is now with the New York Giants, and he's expected to make the roster according to NYG beat reporter Dan Duggan, The Athletic. Having said that, there's another Giants wide receiver and projected cut that could interest Pittsburgh. On August 23, Steelers Depot writer Alex Kozora urged the franchise to consider claiming second-year UDFA Bryce Ford Wheaton after the cutdown, assuming the Giants place the prospect on waivers. Ford Wheaton seems more likely to be released than Boykin, who the Giants value on special teams like Pittsburgh did, Kozora began. With great size at nearly 6'4" and 220 pounds coming out of West Virginia, the Steelers met with him at the Shrine Bowl, and he came in for a pre-draft visit as a local exception. Although Ford Wheaton missed his entire rookie season with injury, he's flashed during both of his initial training camps with the Giants. He's also worked in a lot at gunner with the G-men but appears to be below Boykin on the depth chart. While bringing multi-phase special teams value and size, he could fit as a number 5 receiver, Kozora concluded, regarding Ford Wheaton. Adding, this summer, he's made one tackle on the punt team. The Giants have a very deep wide receiver room in 2024, so Kozora couldn't rule out a reunion with Boykin on waivers either. How about replacing Miles Boykin with Miles Boykin, the Steelers analyst joked. If Boykin is the odd man out in New York, a quick flight back to Pittsburgh makes a ton of sense. Boykin offers little as a wide receiver, Kozora acknowledged, but is a great number 5 option. He can block and play in 13 personnel, but Boykin is, also, a top gunner and coverage man on special teams. After all, a pure receiver as a number 5 guy will struggle to provide game day value in Arthur Smith's tight end heavy offense, according to Kozora. And he's right, this role will likely go to a core special teams contributor under a veteran head coach like Mike Tomlin. Boykin would offer something for this team and could lead the Steelers in special teams tackles, the writer said, finishing his explanation. If he's available and will sign back, do it in a heartbeat. A major upgrade over Dez Fitzpatrick. The Athletic's Mike DeFabua posted an updated 53-man roster projection on August 25. At wide receiver, he predicted that the Steelers would keep 6 players including Scotty Miller and Fitzpatrick. This position group is one of the most challenging to project, with Miller, Fitzpatrick and Quez Watkins all on the fringe, the beat reporter wrote. It's possible the Steelers will keep just 5 receivers to have 10 linemen on the roster. However, I'd like to see them reward Fitzpatrick for his hard work on the practice squad and continued development, which showed Saturday with a 59-yard catch and run. Of course, the Steelers could also claim a new wide receiver off waivers in place of Fitzpatrick, should they try and sneak him onto the practice squad again. As for Watkins, DeFabua elected to cut the former Philadelphia Eagles 6th-round selection. Reasoning, though Watkins' speed is intriguing, his hands might be too inconsistent. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Dylan Cook? Leave your opinion in the comments.